Hello world, and welcome back. So, I've been looking around for train wheels. No, this isn't going to work, it's not quite right. This is an interesting design, but it's got a double flanged wheel. It's basically on a bogie, but I'd still need to go get some axles and maybe something like that, I don't know. I don't think this is going to work because I'll have to grind off the second flange. This one's interesting, but the same problem. It's got that double flange, and I'm pretty certain once I grind off that second flange, there'll be nothing left underneath to roll on the track. This one's interesting, but it's gonna have to be a no. This one's really nice. It might be able to be some kind of driving wheel, but I'd have to add a flange myself. It's completely smooth. No. Hard no. Nylon? Heck no. What even are these things? Alright, I give up. I'm going to Harbor Freight and I'm just going to figure it out. One trip to my local Harbor Freight later. It's a good thing that Harbor Freight sells train wheels. I'm not even joking. There's no joke here. My local Harbor Freight actually sells train wheels. It's so weird. I mean, take a look at them. In what way is that not a train wheel? Okay, to be fair, this is something called a beam trolley. It goes in a big I-beam in this configuration, and it rolls around on top of the I-beam while usually carrying a hook or some kind of crane underneath. I'm going to reverse the design and then put it upside down onto my railway to act like a bogie, at least for the first few rolling stock cars I have. I don't know if the wheels will work the same way if they're not attached to each other. I don't think they'll do the same dynamic thing, but I'm hoping that they'll at least behave in a similar manner. And the best part is the bar it comes with is within 7 1/4 inch. It's actually a little longer, and it has plenty of spacers so I can gauge it right. Not to mention, with every bogie comes this little hook thing that's meant to dangle from this central bar. But I'm going to use that for a coupler because that's like 1 ton rated. There's no way my little trains are going to exceed 1 ton of force, even if they crash into each other at full speed. It's not possible. So now that I've reversed the beam trolley, it's just a matter of measuring to achieve 7 1/4 inch between the two flanges, and making certain that I can actually roll on my rails effectively. Luckily, they expect this thing to fit different size beams, and that means it comes with a whole bunch of spacing washers to go on this central axle thing, and you can just measure out your beam and make certain that it's hugging tight to the top of the beam when it's rolling around, so I can use the same system to make absolutely certain that this thing is fitting on my railroad tracks properly. As to how to get the two different sets of wheels to not turn when they're moving around, I'll have to figure that out later, but I'm certain I can come up with something. I also need to come up with some kind of way to get it to be able to pivot the right way when it's on a railroad car. Alrighty then, I think I have it in the correct configuration for 7 1/4 inch. Now I just need to tighten up these nuts on it and take it outside for some preliminary testing. If this thing tests well, then that's good news for me because it means I have something that I can test the rest of the track with as I'm laying it, rather than just doing the guesswork of, oh no, I have 100 bad areas where the train has a tendency to derail. I know for a fact there's one bad spot in my rail I've already laid that's giving me a lot of concern, and I'm betting this is going to derail there, but there's only one way to know, and that's to head outside and see for myself. Taking the bogie outside, I first had to figure out if some of the problems I was facing was the gauging of the bogie within the rails, or was perhaps a bad point on the track. So I'm rolling it around just a whole bunch to see where exactly it derails and how often it derails. Here, I can't prove if it's the bogie or the rails themselves. I'm thinking the bogie isn't wide enough, so I've got to make a real quick adjustment to make certain that it's actually wide enough to stay within the track, especially on the curves. This particular spot of track has been giving me a bit of a problem because there are no fish plates on it. There are no fish plates because this is where I kept breaking drill bits and couldn't seem to get the drill bits through these pieces of track. So I think what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to take the grinder and probably smooth out the ends of this post because they have some pretty nasty ends on them. Then, no matter how hard it might be, I'm going to have to find a way to drill through this track and add some fish plates to make certain that everything is lining up perfectly. Didn't derail that. I'm doing lots of testing to see exactly why it's derailing. What's odd is that it derails in both directions. I can certainly understand it derailing in this direction because the flange hits the outside rail and is then lifted out of the track. But why does it derail in the other direction? It could be that since the other track is a little taller, the flange is hitting it and pulling it out of the track the same way it's going in the other direction. But I'm not certain. I'm hoping that once I add fish plates and take the grinder to some of these rougher edges, smooth everything out, it should stop derailing, but I'm not so certain that it will. I'm really concerned that I'm going to do a whole bunch of work on this turn, and it'll still derail here, even when there's a train on it. This other section is where I managed to actually force the bit through the rail. Unfortunately, this is also where I burnt up my drill bit, and it stopped working after that. Wouldn't bite no matter how hard I pushed or how well I lubricated it. And it seems that this part with the fish plates doesn't seem to derail. I think it's because the weight of the bogie smushes down a bit on the rails and puts everything out of alignment just at the moment that they hit. I think these fish plates are more important than I'm giving them credit for, and maybe I do need them after all. And let's be honest with myself, if there was ever a spot on this track where I could get away with not using fish plates, it's not going to be the turns. Hey look, it didn't derail that time. Purchasing these bogies, even though they are rather cheap bogies from Harbor Freight, still costs money. And a good way you can help me out to continue this experimentation and this silly project in my own backyard is to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm hoping to get to enough subscribers, enough watch time, enough everything, that I can get some ad revenue on this channel. If I have a source of income that is directly tied to me going out and playing with trains, I can promise you I'm going to want to make money from playing with trains and not make money from working in a dirty old factory. So if you could help me out by commenting, and subscribing, I'd really appreciate it. And that's really all the time I have right now, and for now I'm going to have to be saying bye-bye.